Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Mukesh English, and this is Mukesh Soni. Friends, in this video we are going to have the discussion of the important questions from the very famous poem titled Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. And this poem is composed by the famous American poet Robert Frost. And this poem is prescribed for the fourth semester BCom BBA Generic English under Bangalore City University, that is the BCU, Bangalore City University. So now let's have the discussion of the important questions with reference to the textbook. Here you need to answer the questions in a paragraph, and you have here the very first question: how are the narrator, the owner, and the horse contrasted with one another? The narrator is a man who is driving his carriage through the woods, though he seems to have duties on the other end of his journey. He stops for a moment to appreciate the mysterious beauty of the silent and snowy woods. The owner of the woods is not present in the poem, but the narrator refers to him in the very first line. The horse plays a very sort of reminder for the rider about the duties and the responsibilities. This is a point when the speaker is tempted by the enchanting view and he wishes to stay there for a while, but the horse reminds him of the journey ahead of shaking the bell and the bell, shaking by shaking the bell. So now in detail, I would like to say here in this poem, there's one direct character and there's one indirect character referred by the speaker. The horse can function as the third character since the speaker has used here personification when speaking of him. The speaker. The speaker of the poem is a person with the responsibilities who puts aside his duties for a short period of time to enjoy the natural beauty of woods, which is filled with snow. He's obviously enthralled by the lovely, dark, and deep woods and would like to remain there in the contemplation. But he must fulfill the promises that he has made to others, and to do so, he must resume his travels. The speaker gives us the perspective of an adult who would love to relax and enjoy nature but must cut this pleasure short due to his responsibilities in life. The, the second one we have here, the honor of the woods. The indirect character which is referred to by the narrator is the honor of the woods where the traveler lingers, where the traveler would like to stay. The narrator thinks that he knows this person. He must be someone with considerable wealth, since he has a house in the village and also owns his property, which is full of woodlands, jungle. The narrator seems relieved that the property owner is in the village and will not notice that he pauses in his journey, which could constitute the trespassing on the man's land. Then we have here horse. In this poem, the speaker personifies his horse by giving him human thoughts and ideas. For example, the speaker remarks that his horse must think it queer or very strange, queer or strange, that the speaker has paused in his usual routine to stop and admire the snowfall in the woods. He also interprets the shake of the harness bells as a horse is asking the speaker whether he has made a mistake in stopping. It's likely that the speaker is projecting his own uncertainties upon the horse and his actions. The speaker is actually questioning himself and why he has stopped. Second question: what is the allegorical significance of the words and sleep? The speaker is away from his home, where he feels that he needs to repeat this fact to himself that he has miles to reach home. However, symbolically, the word sleep suggests death and darkness. Hence, this line refers to a long journey ahead before the speaker could go to the eternal sleep of death, or it simply mentions that the speaker has many responsibilities to fulfill before sleeping or dying. In this poem, woods symbolize the beautiful aspects and the temptations of life to which we are often attracted during the journey of a life. The significance of the words in the poem is that the poet has stopped during his journey because of the words. Now we have the third question. What does the rider do in the poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost? In this poem, Robert Frost tells the story of a man riding through the countryside in a horse drawn carriage. On a snowy evening, he stops and stands by the roadside and looks at the snow falling into the woods. Then he decides to get back into the carriage and head on to his destination. Fourth question, what symbols are used by Frost? So, symbolic significance of this poem. Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening is a famous poem by Robert Frost that is rich in symbolism. Number one, the first symbolism we find here, the nature and solitude. The wood in the poem symbolizes the nature and solitude. They represent a tranquil, peaceful place away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. The speaker is drawn to the beauty and the serenity of the woods, suggesting a desire for escape and contemplation. Second symbolism, death and sleep. The dark woods and the snow symbolize the death and sleep. The speaker is tempted to stay in the woods, which could be seen as a metaphor for surrendering to death or giving into a peaceful slumber. The next symbol we have here, responsibility and duty. The poem also deals with the themes of responsibility and duty. The speaker is aware that he has promises to keep and miles to go before he sleeps, which can be interpreted as a representation of the obligations and commitments that we all have in life. Next, time and mortality. The repetition of the last line, and miles to go before I sleep, symbolizes the passing of time and the inevitability of mortality. It serves as a reminder that life is short and that there are always more tasks to be done before one can rest. The last symbols we have here, choice and temptation. The poem can also be seen as a reflection on the choices and the temptations. The speaker is tempted to remain in the woods, but ultimately he chooses to continue on his journey. This symbolizes the conflict between the desire for escape and the need to fulfill one's responsibilities. So, this is how symbolically the poem is very much rich. Next, fifth question, discuss the theme of the poem, or stopping by woods on a snowy evening contrasts the world of beauty with the world of human obligations. Discuss. So there are many possible themes to be read in this poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by American poet Robert Frost, and one of the most common interpretations is responsibility. One is the most common theme which we find here is the personal responsibility. The narrator is very much impressed by the snowy woods and he stops in his civilized pursuits to take in the beauty of a natural landscape, but he can't stay over there. So this can be easily read in the final stanza which contrasts the beauty of the woods and with the narrator's obligation, where the narrator says, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep. Although the narrator appreciates and loves the woods for their natural beauty, he needs to continue his journey because he has miles to go before he sleeps. He must continue working as a part of society because that's a role expected of him. His obligations leave him only the moments to enjoy the simpler things in life. Perhaps in time, he works hard within the societal constraints. He will own a plot of land in the woods to sit in, enjoying nature for its innate perfection. But for now, he must continue to travel to keep his promises. So that's a very important theme of this poem. Last question we have here: how does the poet bring out the quietude, means to say the loneliness in the atmosphere? In the poem Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost, the isolated speaker talks to himself, admires nature in winter, more specifically the woods in front of which he stands with his horse. Through the lexical fields and the contrast, an atmosphere of darkness and loneliness is created by the winter. This climate allows the speaker to think deeply and stop his travel for a moment. The characteristics of winter are to darken places by covering the sky with clouds, and evenings come earlier than usually. Therefore, this season emphasizes the atmosphere of darkness in the woods. Then winter does not only emphasizes the darkness, but it also has one more role. The role is here the loneliness. It also highlights the isolation. It also highlights the loneliness, the quietude. In fact, it exists the two forms of loneliness, one for people, one for places. In this poem, it's about the place, and the place is isolated, not visited by anybody, not about the speaker who is not alone, who thanks to his horse who has made him to stay there. The lines in the beginning of the poem, "My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near," that illustrates that the speaker is not alone in opposition to the woods, where there is no farmhouse near. Hence, by stopping by woods on a snowy evening, expresses an atmosphere of darkness and loneliness, which is supported by winter. The season highlights the climate of an unlighted and isolated place that are the woods. With the snow and the wind, the speaker stops in the middle of the forest with his horse. That is personified and wonders about the situation. It also allows him to think deeply thanks to the silence that winter creates. Next question we have here. Explain the lines "miles to go before I sleep," "miles to go before I sleep," the most important line. And what's the answer? This phrase appears in the last two lines of Robert Frost's simple poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. The speaker in the poem repeatedly utters it in the fourth stanza of the poem, indicating that this phrase is very, very important. The speaker says, "But I have promises to keep, miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." The poet would like to convey that the speaker is traveling and needs to cover some more distance before getting back home. The speaker is away from his home, where he feels that he needs to remind himself that he has miles to reach home. However, symbolically, the word sleep suggests death and darkness. Hence, this line refers to a long journey ahead before the speaker could go to the eternal sleep of death, or it simply proposes that the speaker has many responsibilities to fulfill before sleeping or before dying. So, friends, this is how I have tried my best to solve the questions from the famous poem on Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost, as this poem is prescribed for the fourth semester uh, BCom BBA syllabus, generic English, and the BCU. And friends, I have done another videos also. You can see the description box where you can find all the all the lessons links, all the lessons videos links. You can see the last year's question papers links also you can see. So if you have not yet subscribed my channel, please do subscribe the channel. Click on the like button. Write in the comment box how do you like this video. Any more suggestions do you have? Please do forward this video's link to your friends, your classmates. So thank you so much. If you have any questions, you can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Thank you so much.